Good morning, gentlemen. I'm going to discuss the options before Israel as it stands now. As you are all aware, the 10th day of the battle has commenced, but the ground invasion has not begun. Israel had clearly said that it will launch a ground invasion of Gaza and smash Hamas. Well, 10 days have elapsed, they haven't done it. So let's discuss what are the options which Israel has got. What are the options? Well, they have the backing of the United States, that is the biggest plus back, and 2 aircraft carriers have come in the eastern Mediterranean, and they are massive aircraft carriers, each weighing more than 100,000 tons. Now that tilts the favor of the military balance towards Israel. Hamas doesn't have any such weaponry, and even now the Arab countries are really scared to supply any more weapons to Hamas. That includes Iran and Pakistan. Pakistan has been training the Hamas fighters, and it's in the eye of the United States and Israel, and in due course it's going to get its just deserts. Iran, of course, is openly hostile to America. That's the reason they have joined Russia in the battle in Ukraine, by giving them drones and everything else. Gentlemen, now in the 10th day, the Israelis have amassed some 3,000 tanks on the border with Gaza. Now, Gaza is a very small area, it's not a very big area, but has a population of about 2 million. And the Israelis, I think, as per the plan, wish to capture half of Gaza, in other words, neutralize the northern part of Gaza completely. That is why they have been suggesting to, or rather exhorting the Arab population of Palestine, of Gaza, to go south. Hamas, whose leaders are not in Gaza and they are abroad, God knows where, they are resisting this and advising, or rather forcing, the population not to leave the northern regions, because they know if the population leaves the northern regions, the area will be open for Israel to mount an offensive and Hamas will be cornered. Gentlemen, now as it stands is, there is a very complex situation going on. The Americans are on the side of Israel, but at the same time they are having an element of fear, that the Arab world will go against them. And that is the point which the American president has taken. That is why he has given an advice to the Israeli Prime Minister not to occupy Gaza. See, this is a dichotomy. Joe Biden, as we all told you, is a weak person, and despite America being the omnipotent power, he is bending his knees in front of the Arab world. Part of the game. America wants to retain some influence there and not hand over everything to China and Russia. Though these two worthies are not a match for America militarily or economically, and America has been subsidizing the Middle East for decades. For example, the Kingdom of Jordan, the entire budget is subsidized by the Americans. That's why Jordan keeps quiet as far as Israel is concerned. Anyway, gentlemen, the situation is that after having invoked Article 40 and declared war on Hamas, an invasion of the Gaza Strip is imminent. Why it's taking so long is because of the pressures being built up from the Americans and the Western allies to go slow and not to disturb the civilian population. But let's be very frank about one point which I like to make out, that the civilian population in Gaza is entirely pro-Hamas. Otherwise, they wouldn't have given such a lot of space, succor and support to an organization which is recognized the world over as a terrorist organization. So, gentlemen, the situation is, as I told you, very complex. It's not so simple. because the Americans don't want to lose their entire influence in the Middle East, and though there are some countries like the UAE which are not condemning the Israelis, but at the same time they are also sending humanitarian aid to Palestine through the Egyptians' checkpoint. Earlier, Egypt had declared that they wouldn't allow any Arab from Gaza to cross into Egypt, but now one site has been opened up, one entry point has been opened up, and that's on pressure from the Americans. Because now these people, a few of the residents of Gaza who have dual citizenship, will be able to enter Egypt. One other fact we must bear in mind, that none of the Arab countries, none of them wants to take in refugees from Gaza or Palestine. They don't want them. And then they claim that they are part of the same fraternity. Gentlemen, as far as the invasion is concerned, I do not know when it will take place, but in case Netanyahu succumbs to American pressure and doesn't make an invasion, he is going to cook his goose. Because this chance will never come again. Chances in life come once, they're not repeated. And now, as far as Israel is concerned, it has got Hamas on the back foot. Hamas did a mistake, as I told you even earlier, to have mounted this offensive against Israel. They shouldn't have done it, but having done it, they've got to pay the price for it. Now, an Israeli assault with tanks and almost 300,000 soldiers is something which Hamas will not be able to resist, and it will be wiped out. That is the military situation. But things could change if some of the Arab countries come on the side of the Hamas. Now that is the catch point. In my opinion, not a single Arab country is going to come to the support of the Palestinian Arabs. Whether it be Saudi Arabia, whether it be Iran, they are not going to commit any ground troops there to fight the Israelis. The only problem is in the northern region, where Hezbollah, which is operating from Lebanon, could create some problems there. And Syria is another anti-Israeli state. But at the same time, if you remember, they have lost the Golan Heights years back, and the Israelis haven't given it back. And the Israelis are sitting on the heights. It's not going to be easy to dislodge them. Now, the situation as it stands in the Gaza Strip is that the refugees were earlier escaping from northern Gaza because water, electricity and everything has been stopped by Israel, and there was exhaustion on them to escape from there to safer place, because Israelis has been carrying out a bombardment and an invasion is on the cards. Gentlemen, if you look at the type of campaign which the Indian Army fought in Bangladesh, an area as big as say Germany was taken over inside 15 days. And Hamas is occupying an area in Palestine that the Gaza Strip is a very small area. It's a very small area comparatively. And it's, factually, if you ask me, it should be a 2-day operation. But it's going to be a tenacious fight, and I don't think the Israelis have that sort of superiority in weaponry and manpower and all that to overrun Gaza inside 2 days. If the fight drags on for a week or 10 days, Israel will be on the back foot, and the world is going to question what Israel is doing there. It's something like what happened in Russia, Ukraine war. The Russians should have finished Ukraine inside 15 days. They didn't do it, and now almost 20 months down the line, they're still fighting there, and like doing Kadam Tal, parading at the same spot and not going forward, not going back. And that's what's happened. And this prolongation of conflict has harmed Russia more than it harmed Ukraine. Similarly, this conflict in the Gaza Strip has to be a surgical strike if Israel wants to do it. That's my military opinion. Otherwise, better not do it. If you're going to linger along the battle for 10 days or 15 days, even the United States is not going to back Israel to the hilt at that time, because the simple reason that the world will say, why catch the innocent people who are not part of Hamas and make them suffer? I mean, it's a very logical argument. I think I accept it. But then there's a second side, a flip side to this is that the local population there is supporting Hamas. You must remember that what happened in 1933 in the German election to the Reichstag at that time. Adolf Hitler won the maximum number of seats in parliament, but he didn't have the majority. But the majority of the Germans thought, well, we'll be able to temper this man, nothing's going to happen, let him form the government, and he formed the government and set up an iron dictatorship. It's a similar situation in Gaza. There may be a substantial number of Arabs who do not support Hamas, but they are the silent majority and they are not going to take any action. It is a vocal majority, which is a minority rather, which is continuing this battle, and this is where the shoe pinches. That means Hamas, riding on the element of fear of the majority, is enforcing a minority mindset on the people in Gaza. So, gentlemen, what is to be done in such a situation? As I told you, the only thing is a swift surgical operation. Now, will the Israelis be able to do that? Because it's going to anger the world. But then Israel is really not bothered about the world. I haven't seen that any stage they have been bothered any time about the world, and they do what they like, so long as they are backed by America and England. America is the main power. It's a global power. 735 bases all over the world. I mean, that's something phenomenal. America is the only country which can operate anywhere from Japan to South America, and it is now in strength in the Eastern Mediterranean. So one thing is very clear, whatever the Arabs try, they will not be able to defeat Israel. That is a cardinal principle. And none of the countries would like to get entangled, as already pointed out, in a battle between Israel and Hamas and the local Gaza population. Hitler came to power on a psychosis of fear, laced with a little bit of sugar over it. I think Hamas is doing the same thing, and this organization should have been officially banned by the United States long time back, or even the United Nations, but nothing has been done about it. It's been recognized as a terrorist organization. It's been flourishing in the Gaza Strip, and also many of their fighters have been given training in Pakistan and other places, and they have a lot of support in the Islamic world. But then again, one can't say that 90% of the Islamic world is supporting them, not at all. It again could be a minority, but that minority is vocal and they are subjugating the majority. Well, times have to change, and I think Hamas practically committed a great mistake, a blunder, to have launched the rocket attacks on Israel. They shouldn't have done it. And then the atrocities which have been associated with their invasion or attack have been well documented. I won't comment on them. You can go to the internet and see what all they did there. Comparatively, once the Israelis have started, the world has started shouting. Nobody was shouting when Hamas was doing all this. Even the Palestine Gaza Prime Minister Mahmoud Abbas was just keeping silent all the time, but the moment the threat of an Israeli invasion came, he started talking of ceasefire. So that's the double standards, and all over the world, in the Western world, there are double standards. And look at some of the erudite graduates from Harvard taking out a letter in support of the Arabs in Palestine. and they paid with it because many of them have lost their letters of appointment. Similarly, in India, we have the Congress Party, which is playing double games, not knowing that the massive Indian population of basically Hindus is entirely in favor of Israel. And this could be a backlash that could well see the eclipse of the Congress in the 2024 election. Now, I'll come to a little bit of astrological forecast also. My astrological forecast tell me that Biden is going to be defeated in the 24 election because the indecisive, incompetent man. That's number one. When you want to support something, you do it wholehearted. If you remember that great movie, The Good, the Bad and the Ugly, in that Eli Wallach is taking bath in a tub and he keeps a pistol under the water, and a man who has hated him all his life comes and says, "I'm going to kill you, I'm going to kill you." But this man fires and kills the man, and he says one significant word: "When you want to say I want to kill you, then shoot, man, shoot." So this is the same thing with Israel. You can't keep shouting to the rooftop, "You're going to finish Hamas, you're going to do this, you're going to do that, Hamas is going to be wiped out." Fair enough. You've got a grouse, then go ahead and do it. You can't keep sitting over it for a long time. The more you delay, the more the chances that you are going to fail. Gentlemen, I don't think victory is short for Israel. Now, let's be very frank about it. Despite all the help that America is going to give them, including surveillance through satellites and other electronic measures, I don't think it's going to be a walkover. It's going to be a bitter fight. The Hamas is a great fighting force, very motivated politically, ideologically, and religiously. But superiority of firepower is what is going to carry the day. And the question here is, as a military historian, what Israel is going to do. Now, my astrological forecast, as I mentioned to you, is it's not a gospel truth. I could be wrong. There is every chance that Hamas is going to suffer a grievous blow in the next 15 days. The United States and most of the Arab countries are not going to do anything to help Hamas. And in the bargain, there would be collateral damage, and I feel sadly and very unhappy to report, to give my opinion, that innocents will die. It will be like lambs for slaughter. And this is not going to be the end, because I think the time has come, and if Biden, as I've told you, is going to lose the election, there is no choice. The Americans after that, and if Trump or whoever comes in, are going to go hammer and tongs against Iran. Now, Iran has got its supporters, its backers, that is basically Russia and China. Now, Russia, you can expect it to go and, if the bombing is done of Iran, to come to the help of Iran. No way. Russia doesn't have the capability, and they are bogged down in Ukraine, where they haven't been able to beat the Ukrainian army for the last 20 months. I mean, this is one of the facts of history. And as far as China is concerned, China hasn't fought a war, remember, gentlemen, since 1979. And that's a good part of 44 years back. And they didn't cover their sums with glory when they fought that war with Vietnam. I don't think the Chinese have the capability to intervene, whether in the Middle East or in Iran. They are basically having a localized force, and all around them is nothing but hostility, right from Japan down to India. They have spoiled their relations with everybody, and whatever alliance they are talking of, with Russia, is really not going to lead them anywhere. So, gentlemen, World War III, as it stands, is going to take place, and Armageddon, as forecast in the Bible, is maybe coming true. I hope it doesn't. And maybe the war is going to take after the last war after 100 years. Let's hope so. And this is not that war. But the situation is very ominous. Israel, whatever it has to do it swiftly, though the stars are propitious and they favor an Israeli victory. So my forecast, gentlemen, is Israel must finish the battle as quickly as possible because the stars are in their favor. And number two, Biden is going to be defeated. There's no two ways about it. He's done enough mayhem for America, lowered the American prestige, and it's about time he was removed. Well, Iran is on tenterhooks. The Iranians know they are no match for America and Israel, and they also know that nobody come on their side to help them. So, gentlemen, I think I'll close now. You've got an idea. Israel has not yet mounted the offensive, and they better do it very fast. And if they delay, it's at their own peril. America definitely would like to play a double game, not lose its influence in the Arab world, and try and see that everything is honky-dory, but it's going to be like that. And America may also have to pay a terrible price for this, in the sense there could be terrorist attacks, there could be anything, and America will have to be on guard. Well, gentlemen, I think I will close now. If you like my channel, please share it with your friends. Come back for more. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. In the meantime, I will say, Jai Hind. Look after yourself. I'll look forward to interacting with you all again. Goodbye.